Superior, cranial. Toward the head and or upper part of a structure or the body, above. Inferior, caudal. Away from the head and or toward the lower part of a structure or the body, below. Ventral, anterior. Toward or at the front of the body, in front of. Dorsal, posterior. Toward or at the back of the body, behind. Medial. Toward or at the midline of the body, on the inner side of. Lateral. Away from the midline of the body, on the outer side of. Intermediate. Between a more medial and a more lateral structure. Proximal. Closer to the origin of the body part or the point of attachment of a limb to the body trunk. Distal. Farther from the origin of a body part or the point of attachment of a limb to the body trunk. Superficial. Toward or at the body surface. Deep, internal. Away from the body surface, more internal. Anatomical position. Erect, feet forward, arms at side with palms facing forward, head facing forward, internationally. No. Directional terms. Allow us to explain where one body structure is in relation to another. Axial. Fundamental division of our body, makes up the main axis of our body, includes the head, neck, and trunk. Appendicular. Fundamental division of our body, relating to the limbs and their attachments to the axis. Regional terms. Used to designate specific areas within major body divisions. Abdominal. Pertaining to the anterior body trunk region inferior to the ribs. Acromial. Pertaining to the point of the shoulder. Antebrachial. Pertaining to the forearm. Antecubital. Pertaining to the anterior surface of the elbow. Axillary. Pertaining to the armpit. Brachial. Pertaining to the arm. Buccal. Pertaining to the cheek. Carpal. Pertaining to the wrist. Cephalic. pertaining to the head. Cervical, pertaining to the neck region. Coxal, pertaining to the hip. Crural, pertaining to the leg. Digital, pertaining to the fingers or toes. Femoral, pertaining to the thigh. Fibular, peroneal, pertaining to the side of the leg. Frontal, pertaining to the forehead. Hallux, pertaining to the great toe. Unguenal, pertaining to the groin. Mammary, pertaining to the breast. Manus, pertaining to the hand. Mental, pertaining to the chin. Nasal, pertaining to the nose. Oral, pertaining to the mouth. Orbital, pertaining to the eye socket orbit. Palmar, pertaining to the palm of the hand. Patellar, pertaining to the anterior knee, kneecap region. Pedal, pertaining to the foot. Pelvic, pertaining to the pelvis region. Pollex, pertaining to the thumb. Pubic, pertaining to the genital region. Sternal, pertaining to the region of the breastbone. Tarsal, pertaining to the ankle. Thoracic, pertaining to the chest. Umbilical, pertaining to the navel. Acromial, pertaining to the point of the shoulder. Calcaneal, pertaining to the heel of the foot. Dorsum, pertaining to the back. Gluteal, pertaining to the buttocks or rump. Lumbar, pertaining to the area of the back between the ribs and hips, the loin. Logistics, back of the head. Otic, pertaining to the ear. Perineal, pertaining to the region between the anus and external genitalia. Plantar, pertaining to the sole of the foot. Popliteal, pertaining to the back of the knee. Sacral, pertaining to the region between the hips, overlying the sacrum. Scapular, pertaining to the scapula or shoulder blade area. Cereal, pertaining to the calf or posterior surface of the leg. Vertebral, pertaining to the area of the spinal column. Anterior, ventral body. Posterior, dorsal body. Sagittal, a vertical plane that divides the body into right and left parts. Median plane, mid-sagittal plane. Sagittal plane that lies exactly in the midline. Parasagittal planes. All other sagittal planes offset from the midline. Frontal planes, coronal plane. Like sagittal plane, live vertically, divide body into anterior and posterior parts. Transverse, horizontal plane. Runs horizontally from right to left, dividing the body into superior and inferior parts. Transverse is perpendicular to long axis of an organ, horizontal is from front to back. Oblique sections. Cuts made diagonally between the horizontal and the vertical planes. Dorsal body cavity. Protects the fragile nervous system organs, has two subdivisions. Cranial cavity. In the skull, encases the brain. Vertebral cavity, spinal cavity. Runs within the bony vertebral column, encloses the delicate spinal cord. Ventral body cavity. The more anterior and larger of the closed body cavities, has two major subdivisions, houses internal organs called viscera. Thoracic cavity. Surrounded by the ribs and muscles of the chest. Pleural cavities. Lateral subdivision of thoracic cavity, enveloping the lung, and the medial mediastinum. Medial mediastinum. Contains the pericardial cavity. Pericardial cavity. Encloses the heart and also surrounds the remaining thoracic organs, esophagus, trachea, and others. Abdominopelvic cavity. Separated from thoracic cavity by the diaphragm, a dome-shaped muscle important in breathing, has abdominal and pelvic cavities. Abdominal cavity. Contains stomach, intestines, spleen, and liver, and other organs. Pelvic cavity. Contains urinary bladder, reproductive organs, and rectum. Serosa, serous membrane. The walls of the ventral body cavity and the outer surfaces of the organs it contains are covered by this thin double-layered membrane. Parietal serosa lines internal body walls. Visceral serosa covers the internal organs. Abdominopelvic quadrants, divisions used primarily by medical personnel. Abdominopelvic regions, 9 divisions used primarily by anatomists. Umbilical region, the centermost region, which includes the umbilicus. Epigastric region, locator superior to the umbilical region. Right and left iliacoinguinal regions, located lateral to hypogastric regions, superior part of the hip bone. Right and left lumbar regions, lie lateral to the umbilical region. Right and left hypochondriac regions, flank the epigastric region laterally. Oral and digestive cavities, aka mouth, teeth and tongue. This cavity is part of and continuous with the cavity of the digestive organs, which opens to the exterior at the anus. Nasal cavity, located within and posterior to the nose, part of the respiratory system passageways. Orbital cavities, in the skull house the eyes and present them in an anterior position. Middle ear cavities, carved into the skull lie just medial to the cardiums, contain tiny bones that transmit sound vibrations to the hearing receptors in the inner ears. Synovial cavities are joint cavities, enclosed within the fibrous capsules that surround freely movable joints of the body, i.e., elbow and knee joints. What is physiology? The study of function at many levels. What is gross or macroscopic anatomy? The study of large body parts, visible to the naked eye. What is regional anatomy? The study of all the structures in a particular region of the body, abdomen or legs. What is systemic anatomy? The study of body systems such as the cardiovascular system. What are the three different subdivisions of gross or macroscopic anatomy? Regional, systemic, and surface anatomy. What is surface anatomy? The study of internal structures as they relate to the overlying skin surface. What are two subdivisions of study for microscopic anatomy? Cytology, cells, and histology, tissues. What can be studied within developmental anatomy? Embryology, changes occurring before birth. What are some subdivisions of physiology? Renal physiology, operation of kidney, neurophysiology, and cardiovascular physiology. What is the principle of complementarity? Anatomy and physiology are inseparable. The function always reflects structure, and what a structure can do depends on its specific form. In what way does physiology depend on anatomy? The operation or function of a structure is dictated by its anatomy. Would you be studying anatomy or physiology if you investigated how muscles shorten, if you explored the location of the lungs in the body? Muscle shortening is a topic of physiology. The body location of the lungs is an anatomy topic. What are the levels of structural organization? Chemical, cellular, tissue, organ system, and organismal level. What does the digestive system do? Takes in nutrients, breaks them down, and eliminates unabsorbed matter, feces. What does the respiratory system do? Takes in oxygen and eliminates carbon dioxide. What does the urinary system do? Eliminates nitrogenous wastes and excess ions. What does the cardiovascular system do? Via the blood, distributes oxygen and nutrients to all body cells and delivers wastes and carbon dioxide to deposal organs. What does the integumentary system do? Protects the body as a whole from the external environment. All depend on organ systems to meet their survival needs. Cells. What are the main parts of the intestine? Hair, nails, and skin. What are the main parts of the skeletal system? Bones and joints. What is the main part of the muscular system? Skeletal muscles. What are the main parts of the nervous system? The brain, nerves, and spinal cord. What are the main parts of the endocrine system? Pineal, pituitary, thyroid and adrenal gland, thymus, pancreas, ovaries and testis. What are the main parts of the cardiovascular system? Blood vessels and heart. Main parts of lymphatic system, immunity. Red bone marrow, thymus, lymphatic vessels, thoracical duct, spleen, and lymph nodes. Main parts of respiratory system. Nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, lungs and bronchus. Main parts of digestive system. Oral cavity, esophagus, liver, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum, and anus. Main parts of urinary system. Kidney, ureter, urinary bladder, and urethra. Main parts of male and female reproductive systems. Male, prostate gland, penis, testis, scrotum, ductus deferens; female, mammary glands, ovary, uterine tube, uterus, and vagina. What are some functions of the lymphatic system? It picks up fluid leaked from blood vessels and returns it to blood, disposes of debris in the lymphatic stream, houses white blood cells involved in immunity. What are the necessary life functions? Maintaining boundaries, movement, responsiveness, digestion, metabolism, excretion, reproduction and growth. What is metabolism? A broad term that includes all chemical reactions that occur within the body. What are the survival needs? Nutrients, oxygen, water, normal body temp, and atmospheric pressure. What is homeostasis? The ability to maintain a relatively stable internal environment in an ever-changing outside world. What are control mechanisms for homeostasis? Receptor is a sensor that monitors the environment and responds to changes, called stimuli, and then sends info to the control center where it is analyzed and determines the appropriate response or course of action, and then to the effector, which provides the means for the control center's output. What is negative feedback within homeostasis? An example. The response reduces or shuts off the original stimulus. Regulation of body temp, nervous mechanism. Regulation of blood volume by a DH, endocrine mechanism. What separates living beings from non-living objects? Living organisms are able to maintain their boundaries, move, respond to environmental change, digest nutrients, carry out metabolism, dispose of wastes, reproduce and grow, while inanimate objects do not exhibit all of these. What name is given to all chemical reactions that occur within body cells? Metabolism. Why is it necessary to be in a pressurized cabin when flying at 30,000 feet? Because the atmosphere is thinner at high altitudes and the amount of oxygen entering the blood under such conditions may be insufficient to maintain life. What's the process of negative Beck for regulation of blood volume by a DH? Receptors sense decreased blood volume. Control center in hypothalamus stimulates pituitary gland to release antidiuretic hormone ADH. ADH causes the kidneys' effectors to return more water to the blood. What is positive feedback examples? The response enhances or exaggerates the original stimulus, exhibits an amplifying effect, usually controls infrequent event sex, enhancement of labor contractions by oxytocin, platelet plug formation and blood clotting. Homeostatic imbalances. What does this cause? Disturbance of homeostasis increases risk of disease, contributes to changes associated with aging, may allow destructive positive feedback mechanisms to take over. Heart failure. What process allows us to adjust to either extreme heat or extreme cold? Negative feedback mechanisms allow us to adjust to conditions outside the normal temperature range by causing heat to be lost from the body and retained or generated by the body. When we begin to get dehydrated, we usually get thirsty, which causes us to drink fluids. Is thirst part of a negative or a positive feedback control system? Thirst is part of a neg feedback control system because it prods us to drink, which ends the thirst stimulus and returns body fluid volume to the normal range. Why is the formation of platelet plug called positive feedback? What event ends it? This is a POS feedback mechanism because it enhances the change set into motion by the stimulus. The response ends when the platelet plug has plugged the hole in the blood vessel. The two fundamental divisions of our body. Axial part, head, neck and trunk. Appendicular part, appendages or limbs. Regional terms are used to designate specific areas within major body divisions. The most frequent planes: sagittal, frontal, transverse. Sagittal plane. Vertical plane divides the body into right and left parts. Midsagittal plane. Median for the sagittal plane. Parasagittal plane. Offset from the midline her midsagittal plane. Frontal plane. Vertically divide the body into ventral and dorsal parts. Transverse or horizontal plane. Horizontal from right to left, divide a body into superior and inferior parts. Oblique sections. Her cuts made diagonally between the horizontal and the vertical planes.